Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us today. We actually got the three of us together. Elisabeth actually initiated this, and she reached out to me and to Deborah saying, hey, there's a really cool conference going on. Do you want to attend it? Where like the three of us kind of teamed up to attend the Institute of Child Psychology's conference on mental health back at the end of October. And we said, hey, let's all go. Let's kind of divide and conquer. We shared thoughts. And then we said, hey, what can we do to bring some of these thoughts combined with our own experiences to members of our tribes or folks that we can influence and support in supporting their preteens and teens. So this is the first of what hopefully will be a number of workshops that we put on together over the next however long or whatever time frame. And so since she was the one who got us going, Elisabeth is the one who gets to go first. So by way of introduction, she's definitely out in the earliest time zone among all of us. She's out in California. But when you want to raise happy, healthy, and productive kids who are prepared for whatever life throws at them today, Elisabeth Stitt is your go-to parenting coach and expert. Kids don't come with an operating manual. So if you think you're supposed to know how to parent or that it's built magically into your DNA, unfortunately, that's just not true. With over 50,000 hours of working with kids and parents to support her in her work, Elisabeth can guide parents through pretty much any situation. Parenting is tough enough in normal circumstances, and it's a skill. It can be taught, learned, and practiced. Author of Parenting as a Second Language and a longtime teacher with the Redwood City School District out in California, Elisabeth Stitt brings more than 25 years of experience working with kids of all ages to the work that she does with her parents. Through her talks, workshops like this, and webinars, Elisabeth shines her warmth and wisdom to parents all over the world. With that.
Thank you, Clarissa. Appreciate that. So we are all three educators. We come from education and we deal with parents. And so when we were taking what we learned from the conference, we decided that we would focus more on the education piece because it's a lot of our expertise. And we know it's a lot of what's concerning right now. So my portion is on engaging your teens as critical thinkers. And I would say that in our efforts to push our kids towards a goal of getting into college, we have been cramming stuff down their throats. We have been micromanaging their lives. And in some ways, we've done less to make them critical thinkers. There are teachers out there doing fabulous, really fabulous lessons that are getting their kids to be critical thinkers. But on the whole, we have our kids so tightly structured and we are so in control of their life that we're not giving them a lot of time outside the classroom to be critical thinkers. And so coming with my parenting coach hat on, one of the things that I want you to do is to think about how can you support them not only for their schoolwork as critical thinkers, but in their day-to-day life so that they can cross-apply that skill. Next slide, please. All right, so first way to do this is to encourage your children's independence. And one of the hardest shifts to middle school from elementary school is making the shift from being the commander-in-chief of your kid, where it was appropriate for you to have sort of a tight grip on what's going on, who's doing what, when, and you're really teaching your kids how to do things and telling them how to do things. If we continue to do that with teens, not only are we inviting our teens to rebel against us, because it's built into their adolescent DNA to push us away. That's their job right now during adolescence, is to push us away. So when we continue to hold a really tight grip on them, we're just saying, okay, we're giving you a chance to even push harder against us. Instead, when we stop telling them what to do and we begin to encourage their independence, not only do we redirect that need to rebel against us because we've given them the independence, and now they can kind of rebel or do their risk taking out in the world rather than pushing all their energy against us. But it's what begins to have them do the thinking. When we're telling them every minute what to do, they just go, huh? What do I do now? What do I have to do? Okay. We take agency away from them. When we begin to expect them to do things on their own without our telling what it's going to be step by step, they begin to develop that. And again, the teaching trend has been to chunk things down so beautifully for kids that all they have to do is to follow the step-by-step plan, which means all they have to engage with is the piece which is right in front of them. Now, for some learners, this has been super helpful and has scaffolded for them their learning and has enabled them to go through big projects. Unfortunately, the pendulum has gone too far over, and for too long, teachers are telling their kids exactly what to do for each section, when is it due, what are the things you have to do, and we're not giving kids the big project scope that says, if I want to end up with this product, how am I going to get there? We are leading them directly to the product that we want. So the next time that you want your kids to do something, rather than telling them exactly how to do it, think about letting them get in there and fail and make the mistakes. All right, next slide, please. All right, one of the ways we can support them, rather than just throwing them in the deep end, is to begin to model our own thinking, right? The educational term for this is metacognition. It's how are we thinking about the learning that we're doing or the tasks that we're doing. When we model our thinking, we articulate what are our strategies for success. And the funny thing is that so many of our strategies for success are 100% automatized. We probably don't think about them anymore. Here's the example I always use. I'm pretty sure my husband thinks that toilet paper appears like magic in the bathroom because he has no idea what my system is for getting it there. My kids, on the other hand, I had to teach them the system because I didn't want them forever yelling from the bathroom, "Mom, there's no more toilet paper." I wanted them to be responsible for knowing what it was there. So I taught them my strategy, right? When the toilet paper is empty, you take the empty toilet roll and you don't let go of it until you have your next roll of put into ready to go. And you know, there's always toilet paper under the sink. And if you've got the last roll and you look under the sink and there's no toilet paper there, you don't just throw the toilet paper roll away. You go to the garage and you get another 7 or 8 rolls to put under the sink. So once I taught my kids the system, you guys are responsible for getting toilet paper to your own bathroom. I will make sure there's toilet paper in the garage, but you guys are responsible for that. They now had the system. Did it work right away? Of course not. There were times when they were still yelling. And I had to go through and say, what's the system? What is the strategy for making sure that, well, it wasn't me, it was my brother. All right, well, kids, all of you need to come here because it's not fair to leave each other out in the cold like that. So let's go over this again. So by articulating the strategy and then training them on the strategy, they learned it. But they now have the sense of why I need a system, because it's not magic, right? So much in the household does not happen That's just magic. So we can articulate our strategies in so many ways. How, like, I don't know about you guys, I arrange my shopping list by aisle in the store, right? So that when I walk into the store, my shopping list isn't random. My shopping list is in the order that I think I'm going to walk through the aisles until Safeway comes along and completely rearranges every shelf in the store. But there's a system. And the nice thing about my system is that I can take my shopping list and I can cut it up and I can hand different parts of the list to my children and tell them what aisle to go down in order to help me get the shopping done. So as I articulate that out loud, and as I tell them, this is why I've done this, it's faster, it's more efficient, I'm less likely to forget something. I am modeling for them a way of thinking, right? A way of analyzing, oh, how could I make this part of my life smoother, more efficient, more effective, more fun or enjoyable? So we want these skills to cross over between home life and school life. All right, next slide, please. Okay, here's the number one technique for developing critical thinking in your kids. So number one, model and articulate your own strategies and your own thinking. Number two, stop telling them what to do and start asking them open-ended questions, right? We need for them to say the strategy. And when we micromanage and we tell them what they should do next, even if it's in the, maybe you should, right? Maybe you should write an outline first. We don't give them the opportunity to identify for themselves. When I want the end product, let's say I have to write an essay, what are the steps that I'm going to take to get to that essay? So my favorite question, my absolute favorite question for kids is, what's your plan for that? And then notice the pause, right? It doesn't work to say, what's your plan for that? Are you going to write an outline, or are you going to do some drawing or some cognitive mapping? What's your plan for that? No, that doesn't work. You have to say, what's your plan for that? And when you first start doing this with your kids, what's their first answer going to be? Shout it out. What's their first answer going to be? Yes, I saw Clarissa say, I don't know. I don't know.
Same answer I get from my husband.
I don't know. Exactly. Right. So this is why we wait with that expectant look that says, you have my 100% attention until I have an answer.
How long do you wait?
How long do you wait? Great question. Well, usually you don't have to wait too long because they get uncomfortable and they say, I don't know. And so here's my coaching trick. Coaching trick is to ask, well, if you did know, what would your plan be? And then you wait again. And I can't tell you how important this wait time is, because it's this wait time that really says, I'm not going to step in and rescue you here, kiddo. I really am going to let you figure this out. So what's your plan? If you did know, what is your plan? The third thing you can say is, well, give it some thought and I'm sure you'll get some ideas. I'm going to ask you again later.
Hey, Elizabeth, here's a question that Julia just asked us. She said, well, what about asking them if they'd like help?
Yes, you can do that. And I would say after 1, 2, 3, after what's your plan? If you did know what's your plan, we'll give it some thought and I'll ask you again later. Because by saying, we'll give it some thought, again, we're suggesting to them, child, you are fully capable of figuring something out. And remember what I said at the beginning, the pendulum has swung towards our micromanaging and our chunking things and scaffolding learning so step by step that they have learned not to think, they have just learned to do. And a lot of them are beautiful, really superior executioners. They really are able to execute well on the things we ask them to do. But when you don't ask them to do anything, they're like, this is the blank face. And when I talk to adults, one of the questions I ask adults a lot is, if you were hiring an intern this summer, what are the qualities that you would like most to see in your intern? And one of the words that comes up over and over and over is initiative. We would like kids to take initiative. Well, the reason that our kids are stepping into the workforce without knowing how to take initiative is because we have never given them the opportunity to take initiative, because we are always there with a plan and we've broken everything down. So what's your plan? Wait. If you didn't know, what would your plan be? Wait. We'll give it some thought. I'm sure you'll get some ideas. I'll check in later. Now, Julia, now that we've given them some time, now if they're really stuck, we can say, would you like some suggestions as to how I might approach this that maybe you could use? And I want you to hear the word might and maybe. First of all, I'm asking permission. Thank you for that, right? We're not just going to tell, we're going to ask permission. Would you like some ideas that maybe you might use? And I want to use that conditional language because I want to still leave the field wide open. I do not want to tell my child, I'm telling you what to do. So I'm not going to come in with, this is how you should do this project. As soon as I do that, the child's brain shuts down and the child's brain goes, okay, tell me how to do it. Now I'm back to being your automaton. Now I'm back to just following directions. So, however, they're stuck. Would you like me to share some ideas of how maybe you might engage with this project? And I would continue to use conditional language. I wonder if it would be effective to X, Y, or Z. And then you can present your ideas. Afterwards, I would still give them some think time. I would still walk away and let them go. If they're really stuck, and there will be some kids either who are so unused to thinking that they need to be trained how to think first, or kids who like very often are very deep thinkers, never get started on their projects because the problem is not that they have no ideas about how to approach something. They have 37 ideas on how to approach something. And it takes a long time to weigh and evaluate 37 different ideas and to see which one is going to be the best idea. These are the kids who, if you gave them a chance, they would turn in one absolutely Nobel Prize winning project at the end of the semester. And they would have done no other work because all their brain could focus on is that one project. With that child, it can be helpful to, one of the things you can teach them is, in life, we don't have time to evaluate every single option. So we need to put some options on the table and evaluate them pretty quickly, and then just trust, like, okay, maybe A and B would be better than C, but today I'm going to go with C. So sometimes with a child, you have to get down to, all right, maybe they're saying, I don't know if I should do this or that or that or that or that. At that point, it might be appropriate to step in and say, okay, I'm looking at ideas A and C, and they seem like the strongest to me. So I need you to make a choice. Are you going to pursue A or are you going to pursue C? And that can help narrow down those complex deep thinkers into one idea. Next slide, please. Okay, if we're going to send our kids out into the world, inviting them to take initiative, asking them to come up with a plan, we have to allow for the fact that the plan is going to fail. Big time. And one of the things that I love about middle school is that it is the perfect place for children to fail. Middle school teachers tend to be tight about things because they want to prepare your kids for high school. So, in my classroom, the policy was 10% off, every day you're late, 10% off. They had to turn in an essay. They had to sign it in when they turned it in. If they didn't sign the paper that my turn-in sheet, I didn't care if it was an A. They got a 0 because my number one rule was you sign in on the turn-in sheet. That's how I know I have possession of your paper. Was that mean? You betcha it was mean. That's great. Much better that I be mean to them in 7th grade with all the love in the world and all the affection in the world and all the confidence in the world that they're going to learn what they need to do, than that the 9th grade teacher give them the 0 for that mistake, because in 9th grade, their grades count. So the great thing about middle school, with all our middle school parents here, is that we have this opportunity to let them make the plan and then fail to execute on it, and then suffer the consequence that the teacher's going to give. And then help them, rather than you failed, rather than I can't trust you to make a plan. I need to sweep in and take over again because you've got to keep your grades up. Because after all, middle school grades don't count for anything. It gives me the opportunity to come in and really focus and say like, oh, you had a plan. And it sounded like a good plan to me when you and I talked about it. So let's go back and see what maybe you want to adjust for next time. Right? We want to teach our kids the idea that we don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater. Just because the plan failed, the end product failed, doesn't mean it was a bad idea. It doesn't mean that they didn't do a lot that was right along the way. We just need to help them to identify what's the piece that seemed to have fallen apart and what can we do for next time that's going to make the difference. Next slide, please. Oh boy, look at me coming at 8:29 and keeping us right on schedule. Okay, so the resource that I have for you all is a checklist called the Are You Raising an Adult Checklist. And it's a great starting point. It is a really great place to just look through the list and to go like, if personally, I look at sort of, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade as saying, by the end of 12th grade, I want a child who has got a 10 on all of these things on the checklist. So if I got a 6th, 7th grader, I might look and go like, right now it's like a 3 on this and a 4 on that, a 0 on that. I want to begin to look at the checklist and begin to say, how can I give opportunities for my child to take initiative and to gain some independence in these areas, take some risks, begin to be critical thinkers about these life skill areas, so that when they're 18, I can send them out the door as an adult. All right, I am open for questions.
I'm going to say you're at least pretty close to a functional adult, right? So yeah, what questions do we have? Go ahead and you can either unmute and ask. We've got a small enough crew here. I can watch as you unmute. Jenna, it looks like you turned your microphone off. Did you have a question you wanted to throw out to Elisabeth?
I do, Elizabeth, thank you so much. Where do I get a list? So I am the checklist mom. I am the mom who's like, this is what we're gonna do, and then we're gonna have it, work. And if it doesn't, it's because, you didn't follow the plan. And so when you said conditional language, I don't think I've ever used. So where would I get a list to ask kind of questions that would be conditional language?
Okay, well, I love that you brought this, because this actually brings me to one of my other favorite parenting techniques, which is family meetings. And I absolutely love and adore family meetings because they give us a sanctified space to have an agenda where we're basically figuring things out. And so anything that there's a problem, like, okay, you guys keep screaming from the bathroom that you need more toilet paper. That's a problem. What can we do to solve that problem? So now you're in this family meeting setting and you've got the whole family there, and they can start doing ideas and they can start chiming in on ideas. So what's another problem? Family, I love you to pieces, but you know what? You're not pulling your weight around here, and that's a problem. What can we do to get more initiative and cooperation from each of you? I shouldn't have to tell you every second of the day what to do. It's really a problem. What could our plan for that be? So you, in this family meeting setting, then you can begin to do it. Now, they can still create a list, Jenna, but if the list comes from them, even if you can see that it's flawed, if the list comes from them, you are teaching them the strategy of making lists, which is a great strategy, right? Writing stuff down, having a list is an awesome strategy for kids to follow. By letting them create the list and create the strategy, you let them do the thinking. And you're sitting there and you're looking at it and you're going like, this isn't gonna work. It's gonna be a week. So you let it be a week. As you come back the next Sunday or the next Saturday or the next, whenever you have that family meeting planned, and you go like, okay, guys, let's think about this week. We had a plan. Did we follow the plan? B, did the plan work? And then all of a sudden they're going to start telling you where it didn't work. And you're going to go, great. So what should we change?
Okay, I'll try that. I'll see how it goes. I probably need the counseling because I was like, this is how you do it. And if you don't do it this way, then it doesn't, so I have to get better at not being so controlling, I guess.
I know, because we're awfully good at being moms, aren't we? Mm-hmm. We are awfully good at organizing our households and being efficient and getting stuff boom, 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 boom.
Could I just piggyback on that? One of the things is if you're going to make a change in your typical procedures, it's a really good idea to warn your kids about that ahead of time, because if you implement the change at the time where you're using it, the kids are going to go, uh-oh, something's wrong with mom. So you just want to give them a heads up, and the family meeting is a perfect way to do it. And not to say something's wrong here, but to say, I think we can improve things.
Yeah, right. I mean, it could be, or Jenna, you could even come to them and just say, like, kids, I want to apologize. I realize that I've been failing to give you the opportunity to figure some stuff out, and that you're old enough now that I shouldn't have to be telling you what to do every second. I'm sorry. It takes you did such a good job of training me to respond to your every need when you were a baby. I learned that lesson so well that I've still been following you around as if you were an infant. My apologies. I want you guys to be able to do things your own way more. What should the plan be? So another place that we can do this is like at a family meeting. One of my family meeting pieces that I like to use is, I call a calendar check. And so that, and again, during COVID, at least with everybody remote learning, it feels a little different. But certainly when we're out into the community more, and there are some communities where kids are going and playing, they're going to practices or going to sports games. Schools send home the notices of what are the expectations. Teachers send home lists of, like, what are the assignments or what are the dates. So calendar check, I like to get everybody's stuff down on that calendar, because now we can see that, oh, Joey has Poetry Cafe on Friday, and Mr. Green said that the kids could bring in food to eat during Poetry Cafe. So Joey, did you want to bring in food for the Poetry Cafe? Yeah, I told Mr. Green that I would bring in your snickerdoodles. Oh, what's your plan for getting snickerdoodles by Friday? Well, Mom, can you make them, please? That's not in my plan this week. I don't have room in my calendar for this week. What could you do? Wait, right? And the wait, I can't even tell you, if you guys put wait on stickies all over the house, that for me as a teacher was probably the hardest skill to learn. And I was so grateful that I had years of teaching before I had my first child to learn how to wait. Because when we jump in and do the thinking for them, they're waiting for us to give them the answer. So when we wait, so Joey, I hear that you want to have snickerdoodles for Poetry Cafe on Friday. I don't have time to make them myself. So what are you going to do? Wait. I don't know. If you did know, what would you do? Wait. I don't know. Well, I guess, could I make them? Of course you could make the snickerdoodles. What do you need to do to make snickerdoodles? There you go again. I don't know, right? Goes with the whole thing. But eventually they're going to figure out like, oh, well, why don't I go get the recipe? Why don't I check if we have the ingredients? Yes. And then, you know, maybe if they've never done one piece of something, like if you have a 6th grader who has never used the oven before, you might go do an oven check, right? Let's go over some oven safety rules. But hopefully your 6th graders used the oven before. So yeah.
Can I pop in with something here, Elisabeth? So I love what Elisabeth is saying, you know, in terms of the thought process, helping them break that down. That's something that I've done for decades as a test prep coach, where I'm teaching kids how to think when they approach a certain style of question on the SAT, ACT, LSAT, whatever. And I'm teaching them how to think, because they're not going to have this question or this situation necessarily ever again. But I always use the same question. And darn it if they don't call me after the test and say, you know, Coach, I heard you in my head on test day. And it's like, yes, that's exactly it. So if you're taking what Elisabeth is saying and combining it with, like, if you literally use the same 1 or 2 questions every single time, you are going to feel like a broken record, but they will start to think the questions to themselves with time eventually. And then that gives them, again, like that critical thinking skill. The other point that I would add in is that waiting that Elisabeth is talking about is so critical, because remember, as adults as they are becoming and as mature as you're seeing them grow into, the brain develops from the back forward, and the prefrontal cortex is where higher level thinking ultimately actually happens. It's the last bit to develop, and it doesn't actually develop until like the mid-20s fully. So the time that she's inviting you to offer your kids is time that they need. It's like you wouldn't expect a baby to run across the room super fast physiologically. And so expecting the kids to have a response as quickly as we do is an unreasonable expectation, because their brains just aren't there yet. So recognize that they're not stalling, they're not being little, whatever term you prefer to use for them. They're like, this is a skill, just like walking, just like driving, that we are teaching them in this process, and they're just not going to respond as quickly as we do. So acknowledge that you can't see that physiological incapacity, but it's there.
And part of the first step of articulating your own strategies is building up that Rolodex of approaches, so that when you say, what's your plan, their brain will start to go to like flip through the Rolodex of ideas. And we have teachers who are doing this in the classroom with their kids with academic things, right? We have posters up on the wall that give different strategies, like to approach a math problem or to approach a writing assignment. So we want to borrow from that and we want to build on it. And we want them to realize that strategies are transferable.
Absolutely. All right. I'm going to interject as the one who's responsible for keeping some time today. We are at 11:41 Eastern time, 8:41 Pacific. We're going to take about a 5-minute break. And when we come back, Deborah's going to take over talking about different learning styles, which is particularly applicable if you're one primary style and your kid is another and you're remote learning. Hopefully the information that she has, I know it's going to help you get a better sense of how to navigate differences in learning. So let's take a quick bio break. We'll take about 4 minutes and we'll be back on with Deborah.
But meanwhile, you're welcome to hang out as well. I'll hang out. And if you have questions, you can either unmute yourselves and ask them, or you can put them in the chat. Would just love to hear, what's up with your kids? What are you seeing at home? Even where are your kids in terms of COVID? Are they learning remote learning? Are they in school? Is it hybrid? How are things going? And if you haven't introduced yourself in the chat, please do. And also, please let us know, how did you hear about the workshop?
Hi, Elaine Gordon. Siba was the one that sent me the email.
Who did?
Siba, Connecticut IB Academy.
Connecticut Academy. Okay. We're from all over. So Kelly, you said your name was Kelly Gordon?
No, Elaine.
Elaine Gordon.
Yep. Aileen, I'm glad you got my email. I saw your registration come through last evening. I had intentions of making sure emails got out this morning. So thank you for proving my instinct correct.
You're welcome. I need it.
Awesome. We're so glad to have you.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, so Julia made the comment that she was a step parent and really stuck between two different worlds. That her kids are stuck between two different worlds. And I was a step parent, and I was both a step parent and the mother of a child who was going back to her dad's house. And first of all, hats off to you, because I don't think there's a harder job in the world than step parenting. There's certainly not a more thankless job. And you are constantly, it's like walking in the river on uneven rocks, because you're sort of darned if you do and darned if you don't. Like, if you take action and get engaged, then you are overstepping bounds. If you don't get engaged, you're not stepping up and being the parent in the house where you are. Here's the thing about kids going back and forth between two houses. Our kids, especially our middle school kids, come to school and have 4 or 5 or 6 different teachers. And they learn very quickly that, in Mrs. Stitt's room, this is what you can get away with. And this is what you cannot get away with. But in Mrs. Davis's room, this is totally okay, but don't dare do that. And in Mrs. Constantine's room, this is how you got to do things, or she's going to get mad. So they can go from first to second to third to fourth period and have different teachers and learn different ways of doing things, and know that a different teacher has a different approach and a different style and a different expectation. Now, some kids are more rigid, and we know that for some of our learners, it's harder. And that's going to be true going between two homes as well. That finding that balance and knowing what to do between the two homes is harder for that more rigid kid. And so trust that they're going to get there in the long run. In the long run, they are going to learn to adjust to their two homes. It might just take more years. So patience and faith and persistence is going to get you there. It's a good, yeah, but it will take time. In our family, with my oldest stepson, I used to joke that, well, when he's about 30, he's going to fully realize the benefit of having me in his life and of all the ways that I was actually showing my love and support for him. And he's 27, so I'm beginning to see the glimpses of appreciation, and I'm trusting that by 30, I might actually be able to have a conversation with him where he goes like, yeah, you know, I didn't always love you in the moment, Elisabeth, but I always knew that you were in my corner and that you always wanted the best for me. So with step parenting, you really got to take the long view on things. Yeah.
All right. Well,
We're past time.
11:47 East Coast time. So let's go ahead, and we continue to have folks joining us. I'm thrilled. For those of you who either have Facebook messaged me or reached out privately, if you didn't get a chance to actually register, we are recording, and we are going to be able to send recording links to you within the next week or so. We just need an email address to be able to do that. So if you didn't get a chance to register in advance so that we have that information, just either you can put it in the public chat if you'd like, or you can private message it to me, and I can make sure that we put you on the list to get that.